To begin adding color, first you need to have your line drawing opened. Then you need to make sure all of your polygon paths are selected because we're going to make them into separate paths. So to do that, you will need to use your selector tool, and you will click on layers on the side there. And on your polygons layer, you will select that little circle to the right of it. You'll click on that, and what that will do is that will select all of your pathways. And then we're going to divide all of these pathways. And so to do that, you'll have to go to Pathfinder. And you can open that up by going to Window and clicking on Pathfinder. And you'll click on that Divide button, which is the bottom left. And this divides all of your pathways so that you can work with individual shapes. And so if you've connected all of your anchor points, then you should have individual shaped pathways. To begin adding colors, you'll then click on Layers. You'll make sure your Polygons layer is selected. And you'll click on that white little triangle next to the polygons and then the groups. And you'll see that these are all of your individual shapes now. Now all you need to do to add color is you'll choose a shape. You'll click on that blank circle, not the red one, but one of the blank ones. And you'll see that it highlights an individual shape. So you can zoom in on that. You'll click on the eyedropper tool, which is on the left side in your toolbar, and you'll just click on an area within that shape color and it'll automatically fill it with color. And so you'll go through each and every shape in your artwork, and you will use the eyedropper tool to select colors. Now if there's a color you don't like, you can always undo it and you can select a different area within that polygon. Sometimes if you have darker or lighter areas, you'll have to choose which one you want. And so you'll probably zoom out every time you select a different one so that you can find it, and then you can move on to another shape and color. So I'm just going down the line in my polygons and I'm adding colors. Once again, if you don't like the colors, you can always undo it and find a different one. You might notice that if you didn't connect some of your polygon lines, that when you select shapes, you'll end up selecting multiple shapes. So I'll show you how to fix that later on, but for now I'm just going to add color to all the individual polygon shapes. You'll also notice that there may be some green polygons, and those are basically pathways that were kind of made by not connecting your anchor points as well. And so skip those for now, and I'll show you how to get rid of those later on. So for now, just focus on filling in your colors, getting colors that you want, and make sure that you only fill in shapes where there's one polygon and not multiple, because that might mess up the final look of your artwork. So I have a lot of my polygons filled in by now, but I just wanted to show you that you can always minimize these layers, and you can turn off the background layer to check your progress. So you'll click on those white triangles, and then if you click on the eye, you'll be able to see how far you've gone and the shapes you still need to fill in. So if I click on that eye once again, I can see the background again, and I'll be able to select colors. So let's say that you accidentally added color to several polygons at once without fixing the pathways. An easy way to fix those is first you need to select them and find them. And then what I'm using is I'm using the selection tool, which is that black mouse on your toolbar, and I'm double clicking that once, trying to get that centered. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click that selection again. So you'll end up double clicking it twice. And notice that after I've double clicked it twice, I've highlighted that section a little bit better. So to get rid of that fill, you'll click on the fill box and then you'll click on no fill, and notice how that got rid of it. So if you ever add color to polygons that you don't want and you can't undo it, you can use that option to get rid of the fill. Now, to make it so that there's two different polygons, you'll have to delete some of those pathways and you'll have to redraw some. And so you'll probably want to change your pen tool to the delete pathways tool or the delete anchor points tool. And you'll click on specific pathways that you want to delete, and then you can redraw some. And in the process of redrawing them, you'll have to double check and make sure that you connect them to the proper anchor points. And if you do that, most of the time you should be able to create new polygon shapes that aren't like, they're different shapes, but they're not the same pathway shape. So you should be able to create a new shape where you can add new colors to them. Now you'll always have to select all of the pathways and do the Pathfinder divide option on them to be able to change the colors again. And you'll also have to hunt for them in your layers tool, and then you can, after you find them, you can add more colors to them. So you'll find them, you'll use the eyedropper tool, and sometimes when you redraw pathways you'll end up with little skinny sections, and that's okay, you'll just have to zoom in and use the eyedropper tool to add color. So you'll just look for blank shapes after you've redrawn everything, and you can add color to them. And you'll probably need to do this for all of your shape areas that have several shapes in one pathway. So notice I have another one. So I'm double clicking that to get rid of the fill. And then I'm going to redraw the lines or take away some of the lines using the pen tool. And if you delete certain lines, you find that the shapes might change entirely. So if you redraw things, make sure that you redraw your polygons so that you can cover and paint all of the area within. So sometimes if you double click, you'll find that you get rid of a certain layer. So in order to get rid of that, you'll just click outside of your image in the gray area to be able to access your artwork again. So at this point I'm still trying to draw some new polygons into that nose area. So I've just got my selector tool to kind of show me where certain polygons are. Now I've got my pen tool, I can outline some of those spaces that I can then fill in with color after I've drawn some new polygons. So once again, with each new polygon drawing that you've done to maybe correct some of your past work, you will have to select all of your polygons again by clicking on that circle, and then you'll have to go to the Pathfinders window and you'll have to click divide to separate your paths out again to make it so that you can add color to certain pathways. You'll have to also hunt for them within those layers, pathway layers. So keep that in mind. Probably why it's a good idea to make sure that you've attached all of your anchor points together. Otherwise, you'll find that you have some pathways that have not been divided into shapes as well. So I'm going to fix up this area in the nose as well by deleting some of the pathways and adding new ones. You'll find that you might even draw new polygons that were entirely different from what you drew before. But you'll always draw new ones. You'll always have to, after you draw new ones, like I said, you'll always have to go back to that polygon layer. You'll have to select all of them, and you'll have to use the Pathfinder divide tool to separate your polygons out so you can add color again. You'll find that when you need to fix pathways, all you need to do is simply delete a pathway and redraw a line. You'll also find that maybe you have to delete entire polygons, and so keep in mind that you'll need to be creative so that you get those pathways in the right spot. So at this point you'll have your Polygon artwork mostly filled in, and you'll probably notice that there's a few areas where the outlines still pop out, and that's because there's probably just a few little gaps from where you started to, well, from filling in the polygons and adding colors. And so if you click on your polygons layer and you click on those groups, then you should be able to find those little green areas, or whichever outline areas you used. And they're going to be pretty tiny, but if you zoom in on them quite a bit, and you can use Command plus or Control plus to zoom in, you should be able to use the eyedropper tool. Let's see. You should be able to use that eyedropper tool and get rid of that color, like so. So I just got rid of that little green part. You'll just scan through all of your polygons, and you'll look for those little green ones that you can fix. So now we have our finished colored in artwork. Notice if I click the eye on the wolf background that it disappears and everything has been filled in. There's no green spots. Every polygon has been filled in with its own color. So at this point we can get rid of the wolf background. We don't need that anymore. And this is our artwork. You'll probably, depending on if you want to save this and do more with it or print it out, you'll probably want to save it as just a regular AI file. And you'll click OK. And then if you want to be able to post this anywhere or do anything with it, you can export it and export as. So that's File, Export, Export As, and you will save it as a JPEG. And so with this you'll be able to submit it to Canvas, you'll be able to edit it in Photoshop, you can crop things or cut things out, and so you'll want to export that as a JPEG, and then you'll turn that in as a finished JPEG file. And that is how you complete your Polygon artwork.